Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is Caitlin from Grassfed Girl, and we're here today with Dr. Kelsey Clevenger. She is a chiropractor in Jacksonville, Florida, and she has an awesome carnivore story to share with us, and we're so excited. Welcome, Dr. Kelsey.
Thanks so much, Caitlin. I'm super excited to be here with you today and share my carnivore story. So,
tell us how you got started, and what led you to your drift towards this direction, and how you got interested in natural health and all of that.
Of course. So as far as like carnivore, you actually were the first person I even heard about. I've been following you for a long time. And when I first started hearing about carnivore, it caught my attention because it was just so different than anything I had heard of. I had more of like a keto, paleo background. And so I started listening to what you were saying and following what was going on with you because we have similar health history with the Hashimotos. So that's how that all started.
I just bring my fans on, you guys know.
I know. I'm like, let me just toot your horn because you're the reason.
I didn't know that, honest.
No. So, I mean, going back, I'd always been a sick kid, always like GI issues, anxiety, depression. And I think that's a lot of what got me into the realm of health and becoming a chiropractic physician. Just because, traditional medicine didn't work for me. I tried all kinds of things. And my parents took me to specialists. At one point I had psychopseudoseizures and was told I was faking. And so really that led me to this thought process and this idea that food is medicine. And a lot of my health concerns did dissipate when I adopted more of a paleo lifestyle, like a low carb paleo. So then when I heard of carnivore, it wasn't too far-fetched, just because I'd always kind of gone to this bend toward I'd rather have protein than vegetables, but I only ate vegetables because I thought I had to. So, yeah, but as I watched your story and learned a little bit more on why you were doing it, I started doing more research on Hashimoto's in that regard, because I'd been doing kind of a traditional AIP, supplementing on meds, but there still was just something missing. And even as a practitioner and seeking all types of different help, I think it was just a gut instinct. And so I had messaged you and Laura Spath, and I was just tell me about this. Should I just do it? And once I switched over to carnivore, it was maybe 2 weeks, and I could just see this huge difference, not only in my physique, but in my energy, in the ability to sleep and sleep through the night. I haven't checked my numbers yet. I've only been doing carnivore for about 3 months. I haven't done labs again, but just from symptom wise, I can just tell I'm a totally different person. Totally different.
That's amazing. So you were doing, it kind of cut out a little bit. What were you saying about AIP?
Oh, so to treat my own hashis, I was doing AIP. I was kind of more that traditional, food is medicine, AIP, taking out caffeine, all the things that we know that help, but there's still just something missing. And for me, it was too many vegetables. Way too many vegetables.
I know. And I've talked about this on other podcasts, but it's when you hear the AIP thing is eat more, just eat more, 9 cups or whatever. It's oh, and no, did you have digestive problems before?
Oh yeah. Since I was 3 or 4 years old. My mom tells me stories of how bad my digestion was growing up. And it just never consistent. I just always had, bloating and going diagnosis of IBS and all the tests. And just, we never knew what was wrong. I just always had issues with it.
So did you have constipation too, or Just
Oh yeah, going between like
so
losing
all
and
so all
constipation, like the total gamut of IBS. I mean,
it,
and that's embarrassing, especially living in Florida, trying to be at the beach. That doesn't go well.
like where's the porta potty
Yeah, or just not even going out.
with your friends? Yeah, that would keep you from like doing social activities. That's not cool.
No, no.
And so, when did you decide to go to chiropractic school?
That was about 4 years ago. So, I'd been a personal trainer for a long time, and I wanted to be able to help my clients in a different way, but I didn't have the education or the rapport to do so. And I'd remembered that I had always told my parents I'm going to be a doctor, but I didn't know what I was going to do. And so I was 27, and I started researching chiropractic schools and applied, and within 6 weeks moved to Florida and
So
started school.
there's one there.
There's a couple here in Florida, but I went to Palmer College of Chiropractic here in Florida.
Is that in Jacksonville?
It's in Port Orange, like an hour and a half south of Jacksonville.
Oh, cool. That's a big commitment.
It is, but it was awesome. It's the hardest thing I've ever done and the best, definitely.
So what do you do with that now?
So right now I work with personal injury, which I didn't know I was going to love so much. So I see people who've been in car accidents and treat a lot of whiplash, sprains, strains, get them out of pain. And then we transition them into wellness patients. So it's a lot of education on why chiropractic is important, what else we can do now that they're not in pain.
So not just using it as an emergency thing, but as a all your life thing.
Yeah, yeah, ideally. I mean, we kind of say like it's no different than going to the dentist. Like we get our teeth checked, why not get your spine checked?
Yeah, for real. And I mean, I've known a lot of chiropractors and done a lot of it. It's really good. And I think people minimize, the need for it and don't see how it's just like everything else with conventional medicine. Everything is segmented into, oh, okay, well, you go to a GI doctor, you go to
Mhm.
the thyroid doctor, or the endocrinologist, you go to the bladder, the urologist. I mean, everything's just
Yeah,
like separated when
yeah,
really everything affects the other thing.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it all comes down to the nervous system, and that's really what chiropractors specialize in because of I mean, the way that like the brain and the spinal cord are integrated within the vertebra. So, I mean, I have done this pretty cool thing with patients when they're hypertensive is I'll adjust their upper cervical with the activator, take their blood pressure right before, and then do it again 5 minutes later, and it'll easily go down 10 points.
Wow,
Like,
that's amazing.
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
And I've had it where I've gone to the chiropractor and then like later I've like gone to the bathroom a lot or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and acupuncture too, I mean,
Yeah.
has done people don't realize if they've never done it like how amazing it is for uh, lots of things and just even your mood. So definitely get to a chiropractor near you.
I will.
Now, so let's start. So when you did carnivore, like tell us about the beginning stages, like, how was your withdrawals or sugar cravings and like salt, and how did you adapt at
Yeah.
first?
Well, I'd already been eating relatively low carb, so I didn't really experience a lot of withdrawals, but I also had learned from following, like Dr. Sean Baker and some of the other carnivore people in the community. Like I started hearing like you need to add salt. So that's what I did. I added salt. I did like a lemon water with salt to make it like bearable because I hadn't had an acquired taste yet. And I had no withdrawal symptoms. Any sugar cravings that I had honestly just dissipated when I was just eating meat. I haven't had sugar cravings other than the other day I was out at barbecue and they brought these cookies by us. They're like fresh baked and I smelled them and I was like, Oh, sugar craving. Like that's what that is. But
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have withdrawals because I just said I'd watched you guys in the community already enough, and just I don't believe in like reinventing the wheel. So I did what I saw you guys doing.
That's awesome.
Withdrawals.
Yeah, I mean, don't bang your head on the wall, it's like we've already done it, so
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
that's awesome. So tell us what a typical day is for you, like what you eat and
Sure. So typically I do 2 meals a day. If I wake up in the morning and I feel really hungry, I'll do a coffee with some ghee and a raw egg blended up. That usually gets me through till my lunch break, which is usually around like 1:30. And then I'm a ground sirloin kind of girl. Obviously like organic grass fed. I'll do a couple burger patties, medium, add some ghee, or what am I into now? Oh, the epic bison tallow. I'll just put that on top, and that'll be lunch. And then that holds me over all the way to dinner, which is usually like 7:30 or 8 because I get off work late. And I'll do either a ribeye or another like burger patty with the same thing. That's just what I like, with like salt on both sides.
yeah, it's so satisfying,
Yeah.
I,
Sometimes add an egg to the top. It's kind of just, I mean, there's about 4 or 5 things in my fridge and I like them all. And I just keep eating the same thing over and over. But I like it. I look forward to it.
and once you're really hungry, that's what you actually want, it's not like
Mm-hmm.
you want, you're not thinking of, oh, can I eat these other 17 things,
Yeah. And once like everything else was like, I ended up like throwing a lot of stuff away or giving away to friends. I didn't want to waste it. And like once it was out of sight, it just didn't really like matter anymore.
Yeah, I noticed that like used to love berries and stuff, but if I don't, unless I just like shove my face into the, and cut them and smell them and everything, then I'm just like, whatever, but if I really, really, make, if I really put myself into it or, anything like you said about the cookies, you smell and it's like reminiscent of something you've had and then you're like, oh, I want that. But if you don't really get around it, then you're fine.
Yeah. And I think you keep eating meat and you're like, oh, this is what I really needed. Because there's so much of like an emotional connection to food, like through the limbic system. So I just have to remember that of like, this is my memory. This is not me really hungry for this. And I mean, I had tried like introducing like blueberries back in just to see, and it just I didn't feel good.
Oh, really?
So
You could
yeah.
notice something right away?
Well, once I took everything out, adding something back, just I was able to just kind of feel like, oh, like my stomach is just a little upset, or I just feel a little bloated, or like bloating is gone now. So any bit of bloating is like, oh, it's probably from something I ate.
Yeah. So, so you just got a little bloated when you had the blueberries.
Yeah. Oh, and even if I try like almonds, I'll just get a little
Oh,
bloated or a little indigestion, and it's like it's just not sitting well.
or like a little heartburn. Like one day I ate some
Oh,
herbs and stuff and because they were mixed in with the meat
yeah.
and I could feel it like a little heartburn kind of thing here.
Well, I wonder too, like now, like once symptoms are gone, it's almost like, and I don't know if you experienced this at all, where it was like everything that I experienced before was normal because I just experienced it all the time. And then once I wasn't experiencing that anymore, the teeniest little change would be like, oh, that's not normal. That doesn't feel good. But it used to be my norm.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to be bloated 24/7, so it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So what changes did you see in your body like when you first went carnivore? I mean, I know you said a little bit, but just tell us again.
Sure. Well, I had actually just come off of a super restrictive diet that a practitioner had. I mean, out of my desperation, I had believed it was really going to help me with the hashis. Um, and so I tried this diet and it was very restrictive and it actually triggered, I have a history of an eating disorder and it triggered all of that. Plus, I lost a ton of muscle mass when this practitioner had indicated, like, it's proven you don't lose any muscle mass, you only lose fat. It's going to heal your Hashis. So, side note, if anyone ever says that, that's not true. If it's like a meal, like a diet that you have to purchase, it's not true. But I was so desperate, and I was like, okay, this person's been a practitioner for 20 years. Like, I'll try this. So I had just come off of that, and I felt just so like lethargic, and my hair was falling out again. And I was like, I had lost so much muscle mass that I just felt like skinny and weak, not like healthy and strong. And within the first month of switching to carnivore, it was like all my muscle mass was back.
Wow.
Like, it was pretty insane. Within 2 weeks, I would say I had energy to lift weights again. Like on this other diet, I just had no energy. I just wasn't really going to the gym other than I was doing yoga. But yeah, just that alone, like being able to feel like strong again. And then as of late, like this past month, my hair's not falling out anymore. I'm sleeping through the night really well. So I feel like I'm recovering from my workouts. Just honestly, I feel like back to myself from before I was sick.
What was that thing?
I'm sorry?
What was that diet that you were on?
Well, it's
okay if you don't want to say.
No, I mean, it's okay because it's called Chirothin. So it's a plan that chiropractors can do. But
It's like
for,
something prepackaged or something.
yeah, well, it's amino acid, like an amino acid tincture that you're supposed to take with some other supplements. And you're supposed to eat real food, but the portions are so small, like so small. I mean, I'm 5'11", 170 pounds, and I was having me eat about 8 ounces of protein a day. Like, I was hungry.
So tell us a little bit more about your Hashimoto's and like how that's been and what you're doing now and what you're taking and stuff.
Of course. So back when I was 15 or 16, I was diagnosed with just the general hypothyroidism. I started gaining weight and was really tired, and my mom had the same diagnosis. And so she took me to the primary, and so I had just been on levothyroxine for years. 15 years. And a few years ago, when I had first got into chiropractic school, I started just learning more about my condition because I had tried to go off of my meds several times, and my doctor would always just say, like, well, you can't, you have to take this for life, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I just started researching. I had found Dr. Isabella Wentz and just other Amy Myers, and just kind of like learning online and reading their books and trying to figure this whole thing out. And I had never had the diagnosis of Hashimoto's yet, but I just knew there was something else. And so I actually asked one of my professors at school to order my labs because no one would believe me. I kept asking for like the antibodies to be ordered, and I just kept being like, no, you don't have any symptoms. Like, basically it was because I wasn't overweight, and because my hair wasn't falling out like crazy, and because I could still work out and I was a student, so I must not be fatigued. They wouldn't order them. And so
I don't know, like, what's the big deal?
Right? I don't know, because now as a practitioner, I have this understanding, like, okay, if they have a couple of symptoms, like, it's within my scope to order, and there's medical necessity, so it's like, why not? So I had asked one of my professors to order my labs, and it came back that I actually had several autoimmune issues going on, and Hashi's being kind of the most prevalent. And that was 2 years ago, and I finally got a diagnosis.
After you were already like in natural health, like feel that you couldn't barely get help.
Yeah, that was the crazy part. Because I'd gone to other chiropractors even who worked at my school, gone to their private practices, and paid a lot of money to get help, and it still was so hard. It wasn't until I was like, hey, like, these are the tests I need. Like, please order them. Which, I mean, in that regard, I think it's important to remind people that they are their number one health advocate. And when they have a feeling that something is going on, to just push and push and push until you find a practitioner who will listen.
Well, and I mean, nowadays when people can order their own tests online and stuff, they don't even have to deal with, and I'll put the link for Everlywell down below, you guys. So you can order your own lab test. You don't have to wait for a doctor.
Yeah,
And then
that's such a good
you
point.
can take them to your doctor, and you already have the information. So they can't be like, no, 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 you know.
Right.
And then you can, yeah, because I had a doctor tell me before, you don't even have Hashis. And I was like, oh, hold on. And I went back home and I got my old test and I was like, here, because she didn't want to do like, but I had old ones that said I had antibodies, you know. And she was like, oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. No, that's a good point, because that is really the best way. Just order it yourself, especially if someone won't do it for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll gladly take my patients' labs and help them figure out what to do.
Oh, are you allowed to do that in Florida?
Yeah, in Florida, we're primary care, so we can order labs. We can't prescribe medication, so if someone did want to go like a traditional like levothyroxine route, it would send them to a primary. But yeah, we can help them with that.
But at least they could get them and then take them with them to the next doctor.
Yeah.
So what are you taking now? Are you still on medication or?
I am right now. I'm working on weaning off of Tirosint, which is essentially it's like Clevo but without the fillers. So I'm being treated with meridian autonomic testing, and we're actually found that potentially the root cause of mine is a severe candida infection. So I'm being treated for that right now, which is pretty intense. How many supplements? But I have hope. I feel a lot better, and the goal is to wean off of the meds and be able to just do real food.
Do you think that carnivores helped some with that?
Oh, absolutely.
Candida and stuff?
Yeah, well, I mean, the candida like thrives on sugar, and so when you starve it, so I definitely think that's helped a lot, and I wonder if that helped my practitioner be able to find it, because I was starting to starve it by not feeding it sugar.
Wow, that's so interesting. It's I feel like that kind of thing just like lays in wait, and it's just like, oh, anytime you're gonna give me something, and I'll like gobble it up, and then like flare up.
It's like a parasite. It's just gonna eat whatever we eat, and it's pretty crazy. One interesting thing though that I just learned about candida, I want to share about this, because it'll sit in the bladder and it'll cause like overactive bladder. So a lot of times we can test like with meridian autonomic, we can test like the energy of the bladder and see if it needs support, and that's how we can find candida pretty easy. It's pretty cool.
It cut out a little bit. What?
Cute. So I was just sharing that I had recently learned about how candida can cause like overactive bladder and urinary incontinence. And so through like meridian autonomic testing, we can check the energy of the bladder, see if it needs support. And if it does, we can go and just use like a saliva test, and where, like with the person spits in water, and you can actually see the candida, but it confirms it, and you can basically like start to treat that overactive bladder and help reduce that, which is pretty cool.
Okay. I mean, I've definitely had some bladder issues, but I don't know what it is. And now explain to people like because I think the term candida is so overused. Like, what does that even mean? It's just like a dysbiosis, right? Or I mean, we all have candida in our body, but it's just like when it gets out of balance.
That's all. Yeah, essentially that's all it is. It's out of balance and it starts to take over. A lot of times that can happen because of hypochlorhydria in the stomach, so not enough stomach acid. Lots of reasons for that. Everything from like GMOs to antibiotic use. And then, I mean, and that's a leading cause too of SIBO, but yes, it's just a dysbiosis. So we should have kind of like lower levels of the candida. But when it starts to take over, it'll go into any area. We see it a lot in like mucous membranes, ears, mouth, anus.
A lot of like rashes or something like that. Seems like related to
eczema.
that, and it's so interesting. And I think the standard American diet is so related because the grains completely mess up your stomach, and they make it basically unable to function, like the valve and the valve that opens and closes. And so that's kind of the gateway for everything to get in, and then and it messes up your stomach acid, and then you're like kind of a sitting duck for all these things to get in. And I guess when I first got sick, I had a lot of I had 2 parasites that I don't know, I took a big long thing of wormwood and all that kind of stuff. And then I think they just went away. Over time they went away, I think, just with eating better food and stuff.
That's not uncommon.
So tell us what your plan is now, and what you're going to do with your carnivore diet, and what are you looking forward to with your health?
Well, interestingly enough, I have actually not been sharing that I do carnivore like on my social, mostly because I was checking it out before I recommended it. So I did give a sneak peek on my own social and said that I was doing carnivore and coming to talk to you about it.
You're out of the closet.
Yeah, I did. So I'm looking forward to sharing with my community just what has been going on and how I've benefited from it. And I do some online groups that we're going to be incorporating that as the carnivore as an option for the diet change as the part of the healing process. So I'm looking forward to that professionally. And personally, I haven't been, some people are strict and I haven't been super strict. Partially, I mentioned like that history with the eating disorder. Being strict just triggers that for me. So I'm really looking forward to just kind of giving myself some grace to learn just how to make healthy choices that nourish my body versus like, I mean, obviously, like food is fuel, but I want to learn how to nourish body, mind, and soul through the carnivore diet because I think there is such an emotional component to it as well. I'm really looking forward to continued kind of healing from more of like the disordered eating and body image issues. Honestly, I've experienced a lot of that so far.
So tell us about if you want to talk more about your eating disorder and stuff, because I think a lot of people out there are suffering with that and they don't know what to do.
Yeah. So I formally developed an eating disorder when I was 19 years old. So it's been 13 years, and I struggled for a long time. I was bulimic, and it wasn't until I got to like the root cause of why that I really made some headway on the recovery. So for me, a lot of the reason why was abuse as a child, and so I just had this like poor self-esteem, and really like seeking like control and safety, and so I did the hard part of facing that and healing from that with a lot of neuro-emotional technique and intensive trauma therapy, and honestly taking carbohydrates out of my diet because when my blood sugar was up and down and up and down, that would trigger kind of that impulse that comes with bulimia. And so what I'm experiencing now is because my blood sugars are very, very regulated, I don't feel ups and downs. So I don't struggle with that part anymore. But there's still just like that lingering, like you can do all the healing in the world, but there's still going to be, memories or that connection through the limbic system. And so the connections there with the memories, plus like with food, medicating it. I mean, I overate at probably 8, 9 years old to medicate what I was feeling inside. And so what I found with carnivore is my mental health is so stable that I can continue to work through the things. So more things have come up, but I've had like the capacity and the energy to just deal with it and heal versus stuffing it away.
Wow, that's amazing. You're really brave to go through all that and talk about it. Thank you.
Of course.
I
Well,
think so many people just, stuff it in however they can,
yeah.
and it's hard to come out and talk about it. So, what is what do you see with your, like, how is the eating disorder and carnivore, like, so many people with eating disorders, they say, because I knew a lot of people that would just do always, it was always like the brain side, and they just would do like techniques like tapping or I don't know, it's like they didn't want to talk about the food side, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It was like they would just separate it. It would be like it's all behavioral,
Mm-hmm.
or and then we're on the like where it's all food, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it takes a combination of both.
Yeah. Well, I think, and what I coach a lot of patients on is like it's a mindfulness of like not like this meditation mindfulness, but of just how am I feeling? Like checking in with myself. How am I feeling today? Am I, wanting to eat this way? So, I've been discouraged from doing carnivore because it's restrictive. And so as I've just kind of checked in with myself of like, what is my motive? Like, why? Um, why do I want to eat this today? Or in this moment, why am I craving this? Um, just giving myself grace and asking myself why a lot.
That's really good. So I think it's so easy to just follow people online and just say, "Oh, well, they did it, let's try it." And it's good to try things, but you have to have your own why, and
Yeah. Yeah.
you can't
Definitely agree.
you can't just blindly follow. So that's really good, because I mean, I feel like carnivore almost resets your body, because it's like when I get hungry, if I'm actually hungry, then all I really am thinking about is steak or hamburger. So it's like the question is answered for me,
Yeah.
by just like primal cravings or something. But
Yeah. I mean, I don't even have an answer for that because that part is just like pretty insane, honestly. The experiencing it where it's like, man, like I had to choke down chicken breast the other day because I didn't want to waste it. Because like literally like all I want is red meat.
yeah,
No, I have no idea what exactly like why.
even, even like my sister used to love a lot of, I mean, eats a lot of bacon and pork and pork butt and all that kind of stuff when she was paleo, and now she's like not eating any pork anymore, and I'm like, why not? She's like, I just doesn't feel good, I don't know. I'm like, okay. I mean, of course, a lot of people eat bacon still, but I'm just saying a lot of people say their cravings change.
Mhm.
It's weird. So that's so interesting. Well, I mean, what would you say to somebody who's kind of in your shoes, who is maybe gone through some of the same things, and, maybe they're starting a little further back than you are? What would you say to them?
Um, a couple things. I would encourage them if they're considering carnivore to just do it. That's what you and Laura had told me was just try it, and that really was probably the best advice from a nutrition stance. But I would just encourage them to have some support, seek someone who, like a holistic practitioner, who can walk them through kind of the psychosocial aspect of it too, and be open minded to different types of healing because cognitive behavior therapy is amazing. It's not the only thing, and to just seek different alternative ways of healing and to give themselves that grace that they're going to mess up. Um, and that's okay. That's just part of the process, but it's just going to be like layers of healing, layers. like seasons where you don't have to deal with it and seasons where you're dealing with it really heavy, and that's just what it's going to be. And to just accept it, honestly.
That's great. So Kelsey, tell everybody where they can find you and what you're working on and what's coming next for you.
Sure. I am on Instagram, dr.kelsey.chiro, and that's DR. That's mostly where I am on social. Also on Facebook, kelsey.chiro. And right now, what I'm working on is some healing groups. I call it a different approach. And basically, I have groups of women who are working through autoimmunity or chronic illness. And we're looking at it from a stance of what good can it bring to me versus how it's made my life so bad and so hard and what I struggle with. And as we just accept it and love it, actually seeing people heal in pretty amazing ways. And so that's what I'm working on online. And if you're in the Jacksonville area, I actually am taking patients through my small business as well, Forge Chiropractic and Wellness. So I'd love to see you there.
Awesome. And you're also into like skincare and stuff, right?
Yes, I am an advocate for healthy skin. I'm with Beauty Counter. And so definitely sharing some of that on my social as well. And the importance of taking toxins out of our cleaning products, out of our personal care products, etc.
That's awesome. I think people need to clean up every area.
I agree.
For
And we're
sure.
here to help. That's the thing with social. Is like we're here to walk you through it.
So how would people find like a holistic practitioner where they are?
Well, there's a couple different things a person could look up, either meridian autonomic testing, um, nutrition response therapy. You can go online, Google it, and find practitioners. Or I mean, yeah, those are going to be kind of like your two main ways. If you're looking for a chiropractor, a DABC is a person that they can go to. It's DABCI, and that's like extra training that they've had in functional medicine.
Okay.
And also, your naturopath is going to be a go-to. I would say get online and just check it out in your area.
Yeah, I don't think we have those in Tennessee, but I found a good nurse practitioner that is really holistic here that's helping me.
That's
And
so
I'm
good.
not telling anyone who it is because I don't want her to be busy
That's so funny.
to
Well, a
take.
lot of people will do like medicine like over the web or over like Skype and Zoom and stuff too. So if you don't have someone in your area, a person can work with someone remotely.
That's great. So I'll put all of Kelsey's links below and you guys can DM her or whatever on Instagram. And well, it's been really fun talking to you and thanks for opening up and sharing with us. I think this would be really helpful for people and we'll see you on Instagram. Talk to you
Thanks
soon,
so much,
Kelsey.
Caitlin.
All right. And hold on.